Australia's cruise industry is demanding permission to set sail again, even if voyages are limited to local waters. The industry claims to have lost $2 billion in economic output due to the federal government's cruise ship ban. It's also expecting a further $3 billion deficit from now until mid-March. The cruising community is calling for a staggered return, starting with so-called voyages to nowhere and then onto domestic ports. Joining me now is Katz, Managing Director of Cruise Lines International Association. Joel, there's been reports, thanks for joining us by the way, there's been reports that the cruise ship industry is threatening a mutiny if the government doesn't roll back its restrictions for the cruise ship business. Is that actually true?
Look, we have very passionate passengers. We have the highest market penetration for cruise in the world here in Australia, and our passengers are saying that they want to get back onto ships as soon as possible, even if that means that they can only do domestic cruising, even if it means that they have to comply with the strict protocols that the industry has proposed. So I suppose that's what the headline reflects is the passion of the passengers.
Okay, so that's not something that you're actually pushing for or trying to authorise. That's a separate thing of passengers just trying to get on board again.
Yeah, the passengers are really passionate. Look, we're continuing to engage with the government.
Right.
We've developed some very robust protocols. It was really encouraging to hear the Minister last week say that they are continuing to engage with us and that the biosecurity determination can be amended or removed at the appropriate time.
Are you expecting those restrictions to be eased? Do you think that cruise ships will be allowed to set sail before March next year?
Look, no one's expecting that it's going to be business as usual. We already have one of our members operating locally here in Australia, an Australian-based ship. So really it's about the international borders being closed, which is absolutely understandable. But our success in Australia of stemming the virus really does create an opportunity for us to be able to offer local cruises to locals, within the Australia's closed borders. So it's really just a matter of us working with the government to understand how do we bring those ships safely back into the country so that we can safely manage a phased resumption.
So give me an idea of what a cruise to nowhere would be.
Well, look, it can be cruises to nowhere, it can be cruises to just locally within the state, or it can be cruises to multiple states. So, the ships themselves are amazing destinations. In fact, the reality is, with Australia's low community transmission, there really is an opportunity for us to offer cruises to regional areas within Australia. Our small communities are really crying out for visitors. So we have more than 41 amazing cruise ports all the way around the country. So if we can get some of those visitors into those communities to start rebuilding some of that $5 billion of economic impact that cruising supports.
Well, cruise ships were, as you know, a breeding ground for the virus in those early days. How do you guarantee that won't happen again?
Look, I think, in those early days, everybody was learning everything they could about the virus as quickly as they could. Proportionately, a very, very small percentage of cruise passengers who were on board ships through that February-March period were impacted. Obviously, every case is tragic, but we've been working with medical experts, with epidemiologists, with scientists around the world to really understand how the virus works in social environments. And the robust protocols that we're proposing really go a long way to address that, and in fact, more than any other travel sector. So that includes 100% testing of all passengers and crew before they get on the ship. So that means nobody gets on the ship without a negative COVID test. And then once you're on board, all the things that we're getting used to in our day-to-day lives, the social distancing, reduced passenger numbers so that you don't have overcrowding, looking at the ventilation systems to increase the fresh airflow, enhanced medical facilities on board, and really everything, the things that we're all getting used to in our day-to-day lives in dealing with COVID.
Confidence has taken a big hit when it comes to cruise ships because of what happened in those early days of COVID, though. How long do you think it might take to get back to those pre-pandemic levels in terms of a customer base?
Well, past passengers are incredibly enthusiastic about getting back on ships, and some of the cruise lines that are selling forward into 21-22 season are showing really record booking levels. So the demand is there from our past passengers. Absolutely recognise that confidence for new to cruise or people who have never cruised before will be hit, and the cruise lines will be working hard to restore that confidence with this robust set of protocols and really focusing on providing that reassurance.
How much cash is the industry bleeding at the moment? Are our figures correct when we're talking about multi-billion?
So the $2 billion is actually not the cruise industry's costs. It's the cost of the Australian economy. So normally in a normal year, the industry would contribute more than $5 billion to the Australian economy across a wide variety of sectors, everything from the travel agents to the tour operators, the bus drivers, the taxis. The accommodation sector is the largest sector, with more than $350 million in hotel bookings from cruise passengers.
Okay, but are you going to need, if there's been no change, are you going to need more government help?
No, we're not looking for government support. What we're looking at is to continue that engagement, to work with the government to develop those protocols. We've made some recommendations to the government on how we can bring those ships and their crews safely back into the country while protecting Australia's international borders, which is all of our goal. And once the ships are safely within the Australian safe travel bubble, then being able to offer those cruises locally.
But are we talking about businesses potentially going under?
I would suggest that businesses have already gone under. More than 18,000 jobs across a multitude of businesses across Australia are supported by the industry. I've been talking to suppliers and travel agents, tour operators, for the last 9 months who are literally doing no business at the moment.
So when everything is returned, I'm assuming you're going to have to roll out some pretty attractive deals to get people on board again.
Look, I think people appreciate that cruising offers great value for money, and that's why people love cruising. Whether you're on a high-end ship or whether you're on a more contemporary, family-orientated product, the value for money is phenomenal. And as I say, we've got the most passionate cruisers in the world here in Australia, and they're telling us that they're prepared to comply with this robust set of protocols, these important health measures, if it means that they can get back on board ships.
Okay, Joel Katz, appreciate your time this morning. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Coming up, the first batch of the coronavirus vaccine in the US ships out from Michigan. That's next.
Let's take some phone calls. 1300 30 34 35 is our telephone number. We call it better.